Sycamore family. My name is Pen Macias and I am a mom of a first grader and a third grader there at Sycamore. And I'm also an artist. You may have seen my artwork around Tucson, or you might remember me from paint night last year. I'm really sad we can't do paint night in the NPR like we did last year because I don't know about you guys, but I had so much fun. But I'm actually really excited about this virtual approach because we can all do our artwork at the exact speed we want to do it. And if at any time during this tutorial you're not ready to move on, you just press pause and catch up and then keep going. And so I think this is going to be a lot of fun. So let's get started. Let's begin by talking about the supplies we'll be using today. You'll want a 8x10 canvas, a plate, a cup of water, and 6 paint colors: black, brown, white, magenta, blue, and yellow. You'll have 2 brushes. One is a skinny brush that we'll be using for detail, and then one is a fat, or I would say a medium-sized flat brush. So it's wide on one side and skinny on one side. I'm going to be using this to scoop the paint onto the plate, but you can use a spoon or a knife or a popsicle stick. The paint we're using today is tempera. If you got the kit, we'll be using tempera paint, which is nice because it's washable. But if you are just using the link and bringing your own supplies, you could use tempera or acrylic paint. So, to get started, let's use our wider brush and a little bit of black paint. And a little bit of white paint. I'm scooping the paint out as I go, and that's just because we're going to be mixing a lot of colors, and so we'll need different colors next to each other. But if you'd like to start out with all of your colors already on the plate, you'll just want to pause the video and make your plate follow these color combinations. So once we have our white and black, we're going to make gray. Take a little pile of white paint from the edge of your white and then just put just a little dab of black into it. The black takes over fast, so let's not put too much black in. Once we've made it gray, we're going to start by painting a big egg onto our canvas. All right, there's our egg. Now we're going to figure out where we want the chin of our little hedgehog. So put your finger around the middle of your little circle and then go up just about another inch. So it's a little bit higher than the center of your little egg, and put a dot. That's where our chin is going to come out of. Now start at your dot and give me a arch going out of your egg. That's going to be her little cheek. And then we're going to go the same thing on the other side. That's our little hedgehog's cheek. Now we're going to do the little V-shape widow's peak that our hedgehog has. So around the top, let's add a little V-shape. And now let's form the shape of the little gray body. So let's start where our cheek meets the edge right here, and let's paint a J. And now let's go to the other side, same corner, and go down, do a backwards J. So now we have the general shape of our hedgehog. Now we're going to take more gray and we're going to fill in this body section. As we fill it in, we want the edge of our paint to sort of come off the edge and sort of create like a little fluffy edge, because our hedgehog's a fluffy girl or boy. And if you run out of gray and you make more, don't worry if it's at the exact same shade of gray, because if you look at animals in the wild, they're not like one solid color. There's always a variation of color in their fur. So if you run out of gray and you're adding more, that's fine. It'll look more natural. See, there we go. There I have a little gray variation, and that's cool. It's gonna look good in the end. Okay, now let's fill in this little top section with gray. And it's gonna go the same. We want it to be a little bit fluffy on top, so go past the little egg line you made as you paint. Nice. Okay, so now we're gonna clean our brush off. And when we're painting, when we clean our brush, we wanna make sure we dab it on our paper towel before we put it back in any more paint. And the reason for that is if you don't, you're going to end up with a soggy, watery mess and your paint will run. So now let's get our brown. And make a little pile of brown on your plate. We're going to make the ear shape. So off to one side of this little widow's peak we made, let's do a C shape. And then we'll fill in his ear or her ear with brown. And now going off the other side, let's do another ear. But I like one of her ears to be kind of floppy to the side. It's just cute. Hedgehogs are the cutest. There's just no such thing as a not cute hedgehog. Okay, she's looking good. Now we want to make a really light brown color for her little belly and her face. So once again, we're going to put a lot of white, scoop a lot of white, and then just a tad bit of brown. Brown seems to be the color that takes over the fastest. So we're just going to put just a dot. And you'll notice I'm mixing those colors at the edge of each pile. And that's so it doesn't contaminate the main color that we're mixing from, just the edge. Okay, so once we get a nice brown color, let's blob it on there and fill in. And when we're covering the edge where the brown meets the gray, you can go ahead and fluff it out more to kind of blend our colors together. I had planned to think of some hilarious hedgehog jokes to share in these moments where we're filling in large spaces. but I forgot. So if anyone has a great hedgehog joke, if you could please share it with your awesome PTA and they'll pass it on, because I'm sure there's some good ones out there. I just forgot to look them up. All right, we got his body filled in. I'm gonna add a tiny, tiny bit of water to my brush because to help it go smoother. So now let's fill in his face. And when we get out to this little cheek area, let's just go all the way out to follow the cheek line that we made at the very beginning. And we want our little edge to be kind of choppy looking to show our fuzzy hedgehog. So when you get to the edge of your cheek, just do a little flick of the brush to make it fluffy. And once again, if there's a little variation in the color, like you can see it's a little bit darker right there, that is fine. It'll look really good when we're done. Okay, so we've got our basic foundation for what our little guy's gonna look like. Let's wash off our brush, and once again we're gonna dab it on our paper towel, so we start with a clean, dry brush before we change colors. Now we're gonna add some of the little belly fur and, to our hedgehog's belly. So just fill it up with white and just make like a kind of a fan shape with the white on his belly. Cute. Perfect. And now we're gonna also, just the bottom part of his face or her face, just a tiny bit lighter than the top, and that just kind of adds some dimension. So just take some white and just fill in the bottom of our little guy's face. Perfect. And that's just the bottom part. Okay. Now, for our next part, we're going to be adding the flowers to the edge of our hedgehog's hair if you're doing a girl. If you're doing a boy, just pause right now. You can skip this step. We'll do the little bow tie at the very end for the boy. So for the girl, you're going to put a little scoop of pink on your plate. A larger scoop of white. just a little dab of blue. You're going to need the tiniest amount of blue. And once again, a little dab of yellow. So we are ready for the flowers. Let's dab, 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 and dry our brush off. And then we're going to put just the smallest amount of pink in our white. I want it to be fairly light colored. So once we have like a pretty light colored pink, we're going to go right around the top of the ear, or sorry, that's the bottom of the ear. Go to the bottom of the ear and make a wonky flower, or sorry, a wonky circle. It's going to be basically the shape of a circle, but not like a perfect shape. Make it a little bit organic looking, because in nature, flowers aren't perfect circles. So they look more natural if it's just a little bit wonky. Now take just a dab of the darker pink without the white in it, and just add some kind of C shapes into our flower shape. And these are going to represent the petals of our flower. Now let's clean and dry our brush and add yellow. So our yellow flowers are going to be the same, just wonky circles. And just a little bit smaller than our pink flower on either side of our pink flower. There's a design theory about painting flowers that they should always be in an odd number. If you just had just 2 flowers, it would look uneven. So if you make an odd number of flowers, it brings it balance. All right, now let's make some green. And I know you guys know, since you're brilliant Sycamore stingers, that green is made with yellow and blue. Now this part, this wide flat brush is perfect for making a leaf, because a leaf is skinny at the top and the bottom, and it's fat in the middle. And your brush is really cool because it's skinny on one side and fat on the other side. So we're going to start by putting the skinny part on the brush, and then we're going to twist it to the fat side and then twist it back to the skinny side. And it makes a perfect leaf shape. Now let's practice that again. Start with the skinny part of the brush, go down, make it fat, and then go skinny again. Woohoo! Beautiful! All right, now let's clean our brush off, and we're gonna put our fat brush aside for just a minute. So you can either leave it in the water or clean it off and put it on your paper towel. We just don't want to leave the brush with paint on it, because then it'll dry out and you won't be able to use it. Now, with our skinny brush, let's dip it in some white, and let's start adding the cute little white spines around the edge of our hedgehog. And just when you're adding your spines, kind of think about the direction the spines go in and follow that direction. So around the little booty area, they kind of swoop upwards. So let's add those cute little spines. And then we're going to go around our little guy's face. We're going to add more spines. And then you'll notice while these spines pointed down, the spines around the face point out. So when we add our spines, go over the ear, go into the little widow's peak. We're going to add, kind of point them outwards. Oops. You can see I got some yellow in that spine. All I'm going to do is let that dry for just a minute, and then I will be able to go back and cover it up. That's my favorite thing about this type of paint is you can always paint over it. You just have to let it dry for a minute. So there's really no way to mess up with acrylic or with tempera paint because you can always just cover it right up if you don't care for how it's looking. It's a very forgiving kind of paint. Okay, so now we've got our white spines. Now we're going to add the little cheeks and the little hands. So going back to our pink area where we have a lighter pink, we're going to take a dab of that and mix it more into the white and make an even lighter shade of pink. We want this to be just barely pink. Okay, so let's kind of get an idea of where we want our little cheeks at by putting a dot and making sure they're kind of even. And now let's dab, dab, dab into a little happy little cheek. There we go. Now let's take more of our light pink. And when we make our paw is basically 3 fat lines. One going down, one going to one side, and one going to the next side. All right, now let's do the same thing for the next paw. 1, 2, 3. Cute, 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 cute. Okay, now we're gonna do our little feet. And the feet is exactly the same, but just pointed in the other direction. So let's do a fat line one way, and then a fat line pointing the next way, and one more line. All right, and then our last little foot. Bloop. Perfect. Okay, now let's clean our brush off. Dab it on our paper towel. And now we're going to add the black spines to our little hedgehog. So just go through where you already added your white spines and add some black ones in. When you make your spines, just gently use the tip of your brush, and that'll get you good skinny pretty lines. All right, and now let's add the same little cute black spines around the face. One thing I want to tell you guys, if you're at any point in your painting and you're like, I do not know what I'm doing, I don't like how it looks, just stick it out. I have made so many large pieces of artwork and massive wall-size murals, and at some point in every piece of art, I always think it's going to be a disaster, and you just stick it out and eventually it comes together, and then you look at it and you say, I love it. Okay, so now that we have our little spines, let's add the outline of the ear. Okay, now let's add a little black line on the inside of each ear, and that's like the ridge of the ear to give it kind of a 3D look. Now let's go around, let's outline the hands and feet so they really pop. Cute. And let's give our little flowers in the very middle of the flower, let's just give it a few black dots. Dot, dot, dot. Okay, now we're going to clean our brush off, and what do? Dry it off, and we're going to add the little brown area above the nose. That's gonna give it some dimension on the face. So let's kind of sort out where we want our brown nose area. Put a little dot if it looks right. Then just fan out the brown. That's gonna be the beginning of our lady or gentleman's nose. Perfect. All right, let's go back, clean our brush, dab, 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 and let's add the nose. So with black, put a little dot at the bottom of the brown, if it looks right. Then we're gonna make a kind of jelly bean shape for the nose. Yep, that looks good. And now we're going to add the eyes. And the reason why I say start by making a little dot to kind of figure out the placement of your eyes and all of your facial features is just to make sure it's even and you like the placement. And if it looks right, then paint it into a little circle. Cute, looks good. Now, let's add the glasses. The glasses are my favorite part because, well, first of all, hedgehogs are the cutest animal. I dare you to tell me there's an animal cuter than a hedgehog to begin with. But put a huge pair of glasses on their face, and like, what in the world is cuter than a hedgehog with a giant pair of glasses? Like, hedgehogs don't wear glasses. That's ridiculous. So it's just kind of funny and ridiculous, and it makes me happy. So just paint some large, delicate, thin circles going around the eyes. And then we're going to paint a little line connecting our circles. Boop. Adorable. I can't help myself. This little guy is so cute. Okay, so let's give him a little delicate smile. I'm going to add a little bit to the nose because it didn't come as dark as I like. Cute. Okay, the last step for this lady's face is we're going to take some white and we're going to put just a little dot on each eye, and I like to make a little dash and then a little dot, and that just gives it sort of a reflection. And then we're going to do the same on the nose. Boop. So if you have painted a lady hedgehog, you're done. What an adorable hedgehog. Okay, if you are painting a gentleman hedgehog, stick with me. I'm going to put this lady aside, and I painted this earlier so that you should have a hedgehog that looks something like this. Now we're going to dry our brush off and just add some blue to your plate. And we're going to put a little dot right under the chin. It can be a kind of squarish shaped dot. And then we're going to make a little wobbly triangle kind of shape coming out of our first dot and fill it in. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. I can't help myself. He's just so cute. We should give him a name. Okay, first, let's take just a little dab of black. This is black. And we're going to give our little bow tie just some little wrinkle lines in the middle of the corners. Kind of outline it to give it some definition. And while we do that, let's think of a name. I'm getting a real Herbert vibe from this guy, so I'm feeling like we're going to name them Herbert. I don't know what to name the lady. If you guys have any suggestions, pass it on to the PTA. Because, you know, that's important, what you're going to name your paint hedgehog. Okay, so now let's take some white and give our little bow tie some little polka dots. Because hedgehogs don't have polka dot bow ties. It's silly. Just makes it cute. Okay, there we go. Here's our There's our gentleman hedgehog, and here is our lady hedgehog. So cute. So there you go. That was our tutorial for our two little hedgehogs. I hope you guys had as much fun as I did making these little guys, and I did take the time to look up one hedgehog joke for you guys before we go. What do you call a hedgehog with a carrot in each of his ears? It doesn't matter what you call him because he can't hear you. That's just terrible. All right, guys, have a great night.